everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. I'm so happy to have you here today, and before we get started, be sure that you are a member over on my exclusive Facebook group. That way you can post all your fun crafts, ask your questions, get to know other crafters, and see some of the fun stuff that I post over there. In this tutorial, we're going to be using our Wecreate Vision, and we're going to make this really fun name board. It says mom and then has both of the kids' names on it. I'm going to show you how to use Inkscape to design this. So even if you don't have a laser, this is a great tutorial because you'll be able to pick up some tips and tricks to working with Inkscape. Inkscape can be a little intimidating, but I promise once you get the basics down, you're going to be able to make all sorts of great stuff with your laser, with your CRICUT, with your silhouette, pretty much anything you want to do with it. And it's a great program if you want to sell SVGs. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start in the Inkscape software. Honestly, it's just a great free software that works way better than pretty much anything else. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in on this just so we have a little more space to work with. And then what I want to do is I'm going to start with some text. So the first text I'm going to start with is mom, so just M-O-M, but you do what you want. And I want to change my font because I want to use something that's a little thicker, a little heavier. Though the pink sans is cute, I prefer to do impact with the style of design that I am doing. Impact is just a really great design that works perfect for a sign that you want to have a thicker line or just look a little bit nicer. So what I want to do first is I'm going to make this larger. So what I do is I select my font and then I make sure that I have my arrow up here in the upper left-hand corner selected. Hold Control on your keyboard and then you can make your design larger. If you're not holding Control, it can change the scale of your design and we don't want it to do that. So just keep that in mind. Now I'm going to go ahead and just change the color of this by choosing any color down here at the bottom. It's going to make it easier for me to see the font that I am doing over this. So it's just a little bit simpler to see. Now we're ready to add the names of the children. So for this one, I'm going to select the text tool again, and I'm going to type in Brian. And the font that I'm using has some extra glyphs. And by using the plus sign, it will add a really cool little glyph. So we're going to put the names in. And yes, I know that says Jard, but that's how his name is spelled. We're going to be using Pink Vibes, which is one of my favorite, but we're going to use the script font of Pink Vibes. It's a little bit thicker. It looks really nice. Now you can definitely add some other things to the ends of this using glyphs, and I'm going to show you how you can access some of those glyphs. I use a program called makeit. This is a great font program. I'll link it down below. But what you can see is you can look at all the different glyphs that are available for your font, and you can kind of play around with them. There's hearts, there's all sorts of things, and then there's these different, you can kind of just look through. But there's a lot of ways to use a lot of the glyphs, but I don't know if I want to use any of the end ones like this on it, just because they're guys' names, so I don't know if that's going to look too girly, but let's try it out. So we just have to use a bracket for these. So let's go ahead and go back to Inkscape, and I'll show you how to use those brackets. Now, since we know what the font uses to make those little lines, we can just go back into our text and type in those brackets and just see if we like how that looks. Really up to you if you like it. If you don't, do you. But I think we'll leave them for now and play around with it, and we might take them out. We'll see how we feel. Now, I want to take this word section and I want to place it over the word mom. Now, this is going to hang over a little bit. So again, I'm going to hold Control and I'm going to make this larger. And I just want to make it so that the little tails hang out a little bit over the word mom, but they don't hang over a ton. I think that looks pretty good. It's never going to be perfectly centered over the O with the heart just because the second name is longer than the first. That's okay. I do think I'm going to leave the little tails. I think they look pretty nice. Now, I want to make a background for this so that I have a piece for it to sit on so that it's like a backer. So what I do is I'm going to grab this square tool, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down from our arrow. Grab that square tool and click and hold and then just drag it and make a square or a rectangle. It doesn't matter how big it is right here. really don't care because we're gonna play with the sizing. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna again grab my arrow tool, and there is a layers option up here at the top. This first one here is gonna put your rectangle all the way to the back, so you're gonna be able to size this better. So I click on that, and now you'll see that our names and everything are at the front, which is what we want. Now for this, I do kind of want to just have it a little bit larger than the name, but I don't want it huge. So I'm gonna reduce the size up and down a little bit because I want it to be a little more rectangular and a little less like square, and I want it to not take up a ton of space. I think that looks pretty gosh darn good as is, so I think that's a good sizing. Now there's a few other steps that we need to do so that our design will work within the Wecreate software. I promise it's easy, simple steps. First thing I want you to do is select the word mom, and I want you to go up to path, and you're gonna go to object to path, which is the very top one. Then go to object and click on group, and you'll see that you'll have each individual letter. Then what I want you to do is you're going to go back to path, and you're going to select union. Now what that does is it tells the software how you want it to cut out your design. Now you can definitely manipulate your word however you want. You can stretch it up a little bit if you want it to be a little taller. You can stretch it out, whatever you want to do, but I kind of like the way it was. And then we need to do the same thing for the children's names. So again, path, first one, object to path. Object, ungroup, path, union. And again, that just tells the software where you need it to cut. Like what path or what road is it going to cut around. So for this one, I think we're good. You can change the sizing here if you want to, or you can change it into your Wecreate software. Now I am going to be cutting the mom on one of the patterned woods, and then we're going to cut the rest of this on to just regular wood. So we'll be able to kind of play around with it. So that's why each item is a different color, but each color of your project, your SVG, your design, whatever you may call this, is going to be a different layer in your Wecreate software. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to File. I'm going to click Save, and I want to save this as, we're going to call it Mom, B, and J, because that's Brian and Jared. And then I'm going to save this in to my Glowforge or Laser folder. I just use them kind of interchangeably if I can find it. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Save. We'll save that as an SVG. Now let's head over to the Wecreate software, and I'll show you how to load this. In the Wecreate software, we need to drag and drop the mom sign that we created into this. It's a lot easier if you just drag and drop. We find the one that we called mom here, and we're going to go ahead and drag it and drop it over into our software. Now you can resize it from here if you want to. You do what you want. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger because I think like 8's a little small. So I'm just going to drag it, and you'll notice that everything sizes at the same time. That's exactly what we want it to do. Now that seems a little big, so I'm going to size it down to about 10. It doesn't have to be exact. That's a fine size right there. Now what we need to do is set this up so that we can use several different types of materials and things like that, because what we're going to have, and I'll pull these apart so you can see. So we have our names, and we have the mom, and then we have this, which is going to be the back of the plaque. Now the back of the plaque is just wood. We don't need to do anything to it. But with the names, I'm going to put some double-sided 3M tape on those, which means I'm going to cut them out of a different piece of wood that I'm going to use for the rectangle here that we've created. And then the mom is actually going to be cut out of the patterned. But I want to show you a couple little tricks to doing this. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I want to show you, I'm going to cut the names first. Let's cut the names first. I feel like that's going to be easiest. So what you'll do is select each of your layers. So I'm going to select my mom layer, and I'm going to click right here where it says ignore for processing, and you'll see that it dims that design. It means that it's not going to do anything with it on my sheet, so that way I can just leave it there and it won't cut it, it won't engrave it, it won't do anything. I'm going to do the same thing for our rectangle as well, and I'm going to ignore that for processing. Now what we'll do is we'll put the wood in, and then we can move this to the spot on the wood where we want it to cut. That's going to be based on like where I cut a little circle for our trial with the tape on it, and then also where our tape is going to land. We're going to load the wood into the laser, and then I'll show you what to press on your screen so that you can make sure everything's set up correctly. Now, specifically for this design, I want to use some of this double-sided 3M tape because that'll make it easier to stick it all together. So I'm going to fold the background off of this a little bit because I want to line it up with this one because my design is just a little bit bigger than this tape. So I'm just going to line it up best I can. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's okay if it isn't, but you want to make sure that you press it down so there aren't any bubbles in it, and that's why I only take a little bit of the backing off, and then I just slide this piece off as I go, and then I press the backing down. Now this would be a great time to have like a squeegee available. I don't have one up here right now, but that's okay. This will work just fine. So I make sure that that's pressed down onto my wood, and then I'm going to load the wood into the laser. So we'll open up our laser, we'll input the wood, and I'm going to slide it over right here. Now we're only cutting the names out of this part, and then we'll cut the backing board out of a different one that doesn't have the adhesive because we don't need that adhesive. What you want to click is autofocus, and that is going to have the laser use its camera to check where your wood is sitting. Now you're going to see that I've already cut this out of the wood. For whatever reason, my computer decided that it wasn't going to record the screen while I did this the first time, so we're going back and I'm just showing you how to load the wood in, but it'll all be in order, so it'll all make sense. But it does take a second for it to autofocus, and then what you're going to see is your screen here, the grid, should change and show you that piece of wood that you loaded. Now it can take a second, but it's usually pretty quick, and you'll see here that you can see where I previously cut out my words. So you want to make sure that they don't line up with that section, but you can kind of put them wherever you want, keeping in mind where you put the double-sided tape. So once you're done with that and you're ready to cut, all you simply need to do is click the word start, and it will turn on the processing status. It estimates about how long it's going to take, and then all you do is click send to send this over to your laser. I've got the design loaded in, ready to go. I'm going to hit the start button. It says it's going to take about 3 minutes. Once it's done, we can go ahead and open our laser and we can pull this out so you can see cut our names. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this piece of wood out. Now you do want to be gentle. I was not. But you want to be gentle because these are pretty thin lines. So I'm just going to very gently kind of try to pop it back down from here because I don't want it to break. It's kind of stuck right there. Once I get it unstuck, this little edge is giving me trouble. There we go. Put the wood down to the side so that you guys can see. And then you'll see on the back we have the tape. I don't know how well you guys can see this. But we are going to go ahead and pop this out. And then once we get all of the little extra pieces kind of out of our way, this will be what goes on top of the word mom. So let me go ahead and I'm going to put the other piece of wood in. And this next piece of wood is going to be what we cut out our rectangle and then engrave the word mom on. Now, once we've cut out our names, what we'll do is we'll select the names, and I'm going to ignore those for processing this time. Now, you can just move these out of the way if you just don't want to see them anymore. And what I want to do is I'm going to take the mom, and I'm going to place it into my rectangle here. This is a really easy way to help you line up designs when you make things like this. So what you're going to do is I want you to go back in, and I want you to select your rectangle and turn off the ignore for processing, and you want to do the same thing for mom. Now what you want to do is you want to take your rectangle and we want to make the rectangle cut, and we want to make sure that mom is set to engrave, and that's just going to give us the outline of the mom. And like I said, that's going to make it so much easier to evenly line up our letters onto our board. Super simple, really fun, really easy process. Now let's go ahead and get the wood in for this one. This is the piece of wood that will put the mom plaque on. And like I said, it's just going to engrave the word mom, and then it will cut out the rectangle. So I'm put that in there and get everything set up on the computer to do that. Once you've loaded in your new piece of wood, you want to hit autofocus again, because that's again going to have the laser read where your wood is sitting so that you can line everything up. Now you'll see that we're showing a different piece of wood, so we just need to move our mom pieces out of the way into a corner so that they won't get cut into the square that we already cut. Now that you've had that placed where you want it, simply click start and it will estimate our time at about 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Then simply click send to send it to the laser. Now that this piece is done, let's take this one out and I'll show you what this looks like. So this one here has the engraving, and that's how we're gonna learn, like, line up our mom. It's gonna be so much easier doing it this way. Now let's get the pattern one in. Now this pattern is beautiful, but this is one that we're also going to need to use some adhesive on, because I don't wanna have to try to glue. So just like we did that plain wood one, we're gonna do this patterned one. But I am going to have this a little bit further away from the edge, because I don't need the adhesive to be completely on my letters. It'll be okay if it's off a little bit on the edges. So I'm gonna make sure that I just leave a little gap over here, because that way it'll cover enough of the M that it'll hold it on and it'll be fine, but that way I'm not gonna waste a bunch of adhesive having to put two pieces on. Now it's important to always remember which side you put the adhesive on. So for this one, it's gonna be over in this corner, meaning that when I put the board down in here, I need to make sure that the writing or the letters that I'm going to cut out are going to be in this further corner over here, over on my software. And I'll show you that. Now the last one we want to cut is the mom. So again, I'm going to autofocus. While it's doing that, I'm going to ignore the rectangle and bring the mom into to be cut. Once that is in, again, you just line your design up where you want to place it so that it's not over the part that's already cut, and then simply hit start. This one is going to take, like, I think about 4 minutes, so we'll let this one go ahead and cut next. All right, once that's done, you can go ahead and again open the machine and we can pull out the wood and the letters. It looks like everything cut really nicely. Oh, they're so cute. Look how cute they are. That pattern is great. Now I'm gonna just do everything right here on the top of my machine. Now you can choose to stain your wood, paint your wood, whatever you want to do. I'm going to leave it as is because that's pretty much like the good color for where this is going. So you'll see here that we have our letter. Now, like I said, this part wasn't going to have glue on it. It's fine. What you want to do is peel off the backing from the double-sided tape that we placed on, and you want to go kind of gentle. I just sort of follow along the letter. Just follow along the letter around the backing. Oops, and if it rips, it's okay. Then what you want to do is line it up onto the engraving. So for this, you want to get pretty close to just straight over it, and then you just line it up so that it lines up nice and neat. And look at that. So we've got one letter down. I'm going to go ahead and do the O next. And then last but not least, we're going to do this very fragile name piece. So for this one, I'm going to flip it upside down and I'm going to gently peel the tape away from it. This you want to be really gentle with though, because like I said, with these thin lines, this can be a little bit fragile. So you just want to take your time with this one. You don't want to like just rush. So give me a couple seconds here. I'll get all of the backing off of these and then I'll show you how to put the name down. Once you have all of the adhesive peeled off, you're gonna line this up again onto the mom. But keep in mind that that heart isn't centered onto the O. So what I do is I hold the first and the last letter and I center those onto the mom. So each one of them will sit nice and neat. And you just try to get it as centered as possible. And then just press down where it's on top of the letters. Try not to press parts that are not on the letters, especially the tails on the end. And now we have our beautiful sign. I wanted to make sure that you guys got a really good view of this sign. Again, really simple, only 3 layers with some double-sided 3M tape, which I will link down below in the video's description. That way you can use that with your projects as well. And don't forget to use code Corinne Blackstone at the link below if you want to get your very own Wecreate Vision. I absolutely love the machine. I think the price is great for what it does. It does so many things, and I have a couple more videos planned to show you some of the other things that you can do with it. If you have any questions, please let me know in those comments down below. I'm always happy to answer those for you. Make sure that you're subscribed here on YouTube. That way you don't miss out on any of the fun, crafty content we have coming. This sign is a great option for lots of occasions, so be sure to have fun with it. Happy crafting!